Welcome to 489 of the Pittsburgh Nerd Podcast. I'm Sean.
I'm Nancy, and this is the only podcast that says,
Just look inside of yourself, and you'll see me waving up at you, naked, wearing only a cock ring.
That's funny.
Yeah, for those who don't know, that is from Pump Up the Volume.
That's a funny word for you to say.
Cock ring?
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know if I like hearing that from you.
Cock.
No. Well, especially when you say it like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Pass.
Young lady likes her cock.
Oh my God.
You know who it sounds like? It sounds like Matt Menard, Daddy Magic.
I have no clue what you're talking about.
The Jericho Appreciation Society. Cock.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sports entertainers. Yeah. Okay.
The epitome of sports entertainers.
Well, maybe that's what you're subconsciously
Yeah.
thinking of. Yeah.
Cock.
Them fucking idiots, man. I'm telling you. I tell you what, they do entertain me, though.
They are
They
entertaining.
definitely are entertaining. Yeah.
And yes, Stork, we know professional wrestling is fake. It's not fake.
No.
It's predetermined.
It's choreographed,
Right.
but the physicality is real.
Right. For the most part.
But yeah, absolutely the strips, the scripts and all that are bullshit. We get that.
Right.
But the physicality is real.
Right.
They are putting those them high flying jumps. That's not CGI.
Right.
You know? I've been to these shows. I've
Right.
seen it. But
You know,
for the most part, yeah. Well, I don't want to say most part, but for yeah.
an avalanche brain buster off the top rope through a table. That can't be faked.
No, but
But there is a way for you to land safely,
right.
quote unquote.
And there are moves that they do that are fake. Where
Right.
even sitting there, I'm like, can they make it look any more obvious?
Right.
Yeah, like when they throw them up against the steps, yeah, and they bang their heads off.
Right.
We get that shit's fake, but they're still putting their bodies through physical shit. Shit, Dante Martin alone, the way he does those high flying fucking jumps off the rings,
Right.
that is you can't just do that.
Right.
You just can't go in there and do that.
Right.
Yeah, but he trains to learn how to do that. That's physical on his body. So
Right.
yeah, but no, I do get where he's saying is fake, and I'm not disagreeing.
Yeah. All week I was just getting memes of like, it's a fake. I'm like, I get it. We know. I'm not putting like I don't look at professional wrestling as a sporting competition. I'm not like going to
No.
FanDuel to place bets on Kenny Omega.
I'm not saving for a week of Sundays to go see every single show live.
Yeah. But I mean, it's
Kenny Omega. Oh my
Yeah.
God! Right now, you be betting against
Yeah.
Northern.
But I mean, that's my point. Like, I mean, there's a reason why, sports books don't take bets on this.
Right. Exactly.
But
Yeah. Predetermined or not, fake or not, it's still entertaining.
yes,
I mean, even some of the storylines are entertaining. Like, there are some that you know me, Sean, a lot that I don't care for, but like storylines, like the MJF storyline, I can't wait to see what this comes out of this guy's mouth next. Cause
Right.
he is just raw, gritty, and rude.
right,
And I fucking love him.
Right.
I can't wait to see, what this whole God, I can't even remember who is it the House of Black that Darby Allin and Sting is having issues with?
Well, now they're having because
That ended.
that kind of ended
He's
abruptly. But now
with
that
Jay Lethal,
Jay Lethal
he's
and
doing that now.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I can't wait to see how that progresses. Like, what does this have to do? But there are some storylines that I'm like, okay, I'm very over it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like some of the female storylines. Jade Carlson, you can just leave and never come back, and I would not miss you for a second.
yeah,
It's just, so I get why some people are, yeah, and some people are, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, it's what they always did.
Right. I'm just saying it's amusing to hear. I guess that's the only real feedback I got all week was like from Stork, and it was like Yeah, wrestling's fake. We know, Stork.
Oh, yeah, we talked a lot about wrestling last
Yeah.
time.
And the other thing was, like, I need to watch the news.
Why?
Well, like last we were talking about, like, you know, serial killers and stuff, and you were like talking about like I was talking about like how I didn't know half of what you talk about because I didn't watch the news. Especially when I was like a kid, I wasn't watching the news or like paying any
Oh,
attention
they're
to
saying
shit. Like,
you need to watch the news, not me.
Yeah, me.
Oh,
Yeah, me.
Oh, okay. Well, I could watch more news, but
Right.
I don't because of that.
right,
I don't. I'm stick my head in the sand and pretend it doesn't exist person.
right.
Well, except when it comes to that.
Like
Yeah.
I try to stay as well informed as possible. I do read news articles on sites, but
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Don't talk too much about that because that's something that's going to be on my list here.
okay. But it's one of those things where like no, like especially when I was a kid, like what 12-year-olds watching news? Well, apparently you. Yeah, I was not.
Well, because we were limited with our TV, and if we didn't watch news, we weren't watching TV.
Right. Like my parents weren't big news watchers. I mean, they are now.
Oh, my dad was news. Not only did my dad watch every single news, we're talking noon, and no matter where he was, had to watch the news, or he'd put it on the radio. He
Right.
had newspapers after newspapers delivered to the house. Not only because of the news aspect, but he loved to work the crossword puzzles.
Right.
He'd have them all over the goddamn place. He was a news fanatic. He had National Geographics delivered
Yeah.
to our house. He was just crazy with the news. Yeah, so I guess that's how I picked up a lot of that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, explain, where is Ian this week?
Well, okay, so Ian this week, last week he was sick. This week he's in New York City for the New York Comic Con.
Did he get better altogether, or is he still
He
not
said
feeling good?
he said he was still coughing a
Yeah,
lot.
That wouldn't have nothing to do with the amount of alcohol he's drinking.
No, 'cause I got drunk texts from him last night from a bar in Soho. So
He's having all kinds of fun.
he is.
He's solo.
He's having a good time. That's for sure.
Good for
So,
him.
yes.
Good for you, Ian.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Screw that.
Yeah.
Well, I am stuck here working. Good for you, Ian.
Good for you. Yeah.
No, I think it's cool that he's able to do that.
Yeah.
Why not?
Indeed.
Okay.
Okay.
I can't remember what else went with that. Sorry.
Right. Well, no, that's fine. I mean, here's the thing, folks. Peek behind the curtain.
we were talking about that.
We were doing the podcast. We were about a half hour into it, and all of a sudden, my computer shut down. I reloaded it, and it had did this big update, which I was completely unaware of. But it's never done that before. Now, you know, I need a new computer. The battery's shot, but I mean, it's never just shut down like that in the middle of recording the show for no reason. So that was unusual. So this is like a take 2. Nancy's trying to remember what we talked about.
Yeah, it don't matter.
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
No. So
If you can't remember, it wasn't important.
no, it wasn't. So
Because I know what we were talking about.
Right.
And you saying that.
well, I'm just trying to agree with you now because
I
it
know.
sounds good.
I know.
Because I know what we talked about, and but no, I'm not gonna go down
We
that.
don't want to go down there.
I'm not going down a rabbit hole.
No.
No. Besides, I always find the problem with doing, and we've done this only a few times where we've had to redo something like this.
Yes.
It never has like the same
Flow.
even if you try talking about the exact same subject you talked about the first time around, it never feels right because it doesn't feel spontaneous.
No.
It doesn't we're trying to have a conversation about something we had a conversation about already. We both know what the answers are, so I'm trying to lead you to what I mean, it doesn't I don't know it's a weird thing. So it's I'm just trying well, let's scrap everything we fucking said before for the most part and move on and try something new.
Right.
So
I agree with you.
Yeah.
It just doesn't flow right. But we are going to have to
Yeah.
at least the first.
yeah. So
Yeah.
one this during the week, Friday night, Nancy had this jag where she was asking me these questions. And it was all about music, and it was what's the perfect I don't know. But we went down this rabbit hole of music questions that you kept asking me questions, and we were answering for each other, and it was interesting. It was kind of cool, and so we decided to do the same thing, but with TV and movies. So Why don't you fire away with question number 1?
And we'll just do it briefly because
Right.
the question 1 would have been, because if I was counteracting who's the greatest female singer you think of all time, it would be the famous female actor of all time.
And
I'm talking about a female who
Right.
can pretty much be in any role and be great at that role.
Right. And my answer was Sigourney Weaver.
And I agreed with that.
Right.
I also said Jamie Lee Curtis
Right. Which I agree with as well.
and Kathy Bates.
Yes.
Yes. And I don't even care if you go with people that are dead. Just
Right.
to let you know in
Right.
fact, because one of mine is going to be
Right.
gone. Not female, but on the other side of that, flip the coin, your worst. Like somebody you were like, I absolutely do not want to see that because she is in it.
And like I explained, I don't have anybody like I feel that way about. I think the closest I would come would be like Kristen Stewart. Mm-hmm. And I don't hold the Twilight movies against her. It's just other things I've seen her in. She's just not good.
Right.
And that was kind of but I don't think if her name was in a movie, like I would go, well, but the movie interested me, I would say, well, I can't watch it. I would probably still watch it, but by the end of it, I'm probably going to be saying, wow, I would have probably been better if somebody else was in that role. That's about it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to avoid a movie because she's in it, but she's also not like somebody who like, oh, she's in it, I have to see this.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. Where I'm the complete opposite.
Right.
If I see somebody I don't like, I won't watch it.
Right.
One being Julia Roberts.
Right.
And not saying she's a bad actress. Just
Right.
don't like her. Another one being Nicole Kidman, who is not a bad actress. I just don't care for her. The bad actress I think is terrible is, who did I say? Zoe Deschanel.
Yeah.
I do not like her style of, if you can call that acting.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah. We started to talk about the male ones. Is that when it went out?
Yeah.
Okay, so who was your favorite male one? I forget.
I was going with 2. And I mean, not favorites, but they're actors that I can honestly say, like, if I see their name attached to a movie, it'll at least pique my interest. And that was Harrison Ford.
Right. That was the one I couldn't remember.
Yeah, because I can honestly say I've seen every Harrison Ford movie, and a lot of them are not in genres I would normally watch. Like Mosquito Coast is an amazing movie.
Oh, hell yeah.
You know, but it's because it has Harrison Ford in it. That's the only reason I watched it.
No, there's another big reason to watch that movie. River Phoenix
is in it. Yeah, I know. But I mean,
that's in my collection if you ever want to see it again.
But like, even like Witness, like, you know, I wouldn't have watched that movie normally, but it had Harrison Ford in it.
Right.
You know, the one I said previously was 6 Days and 7 Nights.
Oh yeah, you did say that because I love that movie.
Yeah,
Anne Hesh is hysterical in that movie.
would not have watched that movie if it wasn't for the fact that it had Harrison Ford in it.
Even Anne Hesh didn't pull you in for that
No,
one? Oh,
no.
I think she was good in that one. She was really funny. Just her facial expressions of how she would respond to him, and you were like, I would have said the same thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I get that, but like, it's just that thing of like with me, like the draw was Harrison Ford.
Right.
Like,
Right.
that's the only reason I watched that movie. Like,
Okay.
what was that one? Hollywood. I can't.
You know, the one I liked that he did was Regarding Henry.
Yeah.
I thought he did a fantastic job in that movie. And I think the whole, like, even the little girl, the wife,
Yeah.
the guy she cheated on, the best friend,
Yeah.
just the way they played that out, I thought it was
Yeah,
really
Regarding
good.
Henry's another one. Like,
the
I wouldn't have watched that if it wasn't
therapist
for
guy, yeah.
if it wasn't for Harrison Ford. So there's a lot of movies
I
I've
wouldn't,
watched with Harrison Ford in that I wouldn't have normally sat down for, but because it was him. And the other one I said was Tom Cruise.
Right, Tom Cruise. Yes,
Right.
that's the one I remember. Which I did not. Everybody knows I loathe Tom Cruise, but I'm not denying the man can act.
Right. As a human being, he's despicable, but like,
Yes.
I have to admit, like, I like damn near everything he makes.
I would not say damn near.
and I can honestly say, like, if I see his name attached to a movie, I'm more likely to give it a chance than I'm not.
You know, I can honestly say there was a turning point for me with Tom Cruise where I absolutely did not want to see anything he was in.
Right.
To where I saw something and I was like, okay, dude can act. Why am I not watching his movies? Because I hate him as a human being? No, but he's entertaining, so let's watch it. I started watching the Mission Impossible movies.
Right. You were watching the Mission Impossible movies because Henry Cavill was going to be in the
Yes,
that one.
that was absolutely the reason.
And you
You're
were like,
right.
And you asked me like, can I just watch this movie? And I'm like, in all honesty, probably not, because they're starting to tie these movies all together. So you may watch this and be lost.
Right.
And so you're like, so I have to watch how many?
And remember, I bought the box set
You
from
bought the box
Target,
set, yeah.
and I was like, all right, I'm good.
Yeah. And you watched them, and like you were like, these movies are really good.
Yeah.
Like, why didn't you tell me? Like, well, I kind of did, but you said, well, it has Tom Cruise, he can go fuck himself. But they're really good movies.
Yeah, they were really good. And I tell you, because I went to the drive-in to see with a friend to see the Top Gun, the second one.
Maverick, yeah.
And the main reason I went was because of Val Kilmer. I mean,
Yeah.
I wanted to see him so bad, and it was just, he broke my heart. We'll get into that later. But he was good in it. I was like, fuck, he did it again. Why does Tom Cruise keep doing this to me? I fucking hate you, but you suck me in because you're a good actor.
Yeah.
Hate to say that. But there are movies I will not watch him in.
Right.
I did try to watch him in that movie where he was the rock star. I think the name of it was Rockstar.
No, that was the one. That was the musical,
Yeah. Oh my god, it was just.
Rock of Ages.
Yes, that's it. Oh my god, it was just.
Yeah.
But him dancing around as, what is it, Les Grossman or whatever?
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's just fucking magic right there.
Yeah.
You know, because at first you're like, is that Tom Cruise? That's not Tom Cruise.
Yeah, under
that's
all that
fucking
makeup,
Tom
that's
Cruise.
Tom Cruise.
Yes. Yeah. So, wow, that's weird because Nicole came in on one side, and Tom Cruise on the other.
Apple bottom jeans, boots with the fur.
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah.
But my favorites are kind of odd because, like, it was like one of my favorites is, he's not alive anymore, but it was something from my childhood that I just really enjoyed watching with my father.
Right.
And that's I can't even think of his name.
Yul Brynner.
Yul Brynner. Thank you. I had it on the tip of my tongue before I said that, and then I couldn't think of his
Yeah.
name. And I'm not saying he was like good in everything he did, because there was some shit that I saw, and he wasn't in, you know, as many movies as Tom Cruise is in, apparently. But dude, it's Yul Brynner.
Right.
And then you stick Steve McQueen in there.
Yeah.
There's magic right there.
Right.
You know. So I kind of like that stuff. If I had to name newer ones, I would have a hard time with that.
Right.
Because don't get me wrong, you know I love Jared Leto.
Right.
And I will watch anything that man is in.
Right.
He could walk around in a circle in a potato sack, and I would watch that for 2 hours straight.
Right.
Because it's Jared Leto.
Right.
But he's not the greatest actor to me.
Right.
You know?
Like you were actually embarrassed by him in the Gucci movie.
No, I wasn't.
Yeah, it's me, Papa.
Okay, his voice.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like fucking.
But other than that, I don't. He did what he could do with
Right.
the material and the makeup, the
Right.
amount of makeup he had on. But yeah, the voice was. I think he was like trying to do like that and his Joker voice in there somehow. Like that's what it felt like to me. Like he was trying to like incorporate that laugh that he learned from being a Joker.
It was bad. I mean, like that's a good movie, but
I am not gonna. You cannot say Jared Leto is the worst part of that movie. He's only in it for 2 minutes.
he's in it enough that I'm like, oh man.
But
what
he's
is
not
he
the worst part of that movie.
What the fuck is he doing? He is making decisions that I can't believe Ridley Scott is letting happen.
Again, not Jared Leto doing that. You know, he's following what he has to do. But I mean, come on, don't make fun of him. Don't make fun of Jared Leto.
I will. I mean,
No.
in that movie, I will.
I will bring him in here right now.
Yeah, you go ahead and you do that. I'm just saying, like in that movie, he was bad.
Well, that's not his worst, though. I mean, that's the problem. Is like you don't watch like the movies that went straight to DVD that
No.
I did. There are some that you're like, Jesus Christ, Jared, were you just wanting a paycheck to fund your tour for your band, or
sure.
what the hell is going on here? But there are some that you were like, wow, that was really good. Like Basil,
Yeah.
he was really good in that movie.
Yeah.
You know, Christian Slater was in that movie.
I'm not saying Jared Leto's a bad actor. I'm not at all. I'm just saying in that particular movie, I was just like, what the fuck is he doing?
Yeah.
How did Ridley Scott approve this?
Yeah. No, I'm with you. I'm with you. I understand what you're saying.
And again, he does that thing where like people talking like, yeah, I didn't meet Jared till we got to the premiere. I was talking to Paolo the entire time.
That's what they said about the Joker.
Yeah.
Will Smith said that.
It's me, Apollo.
But it was Mario. But the laugh, it was the Joker laugh. You have to admit that. When he laughed, he sounded like the fucking Joker.
I'd have to watch it again. I don't know what to call it. Ah, 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 ah.
Well, you can't. Don't skip ahead because now you're twisting it where you're saying
I'm not trying to
he's
skip.
not your worst actor.
I'm not skipping anywhere. I was just talking about Jared Leto. I have no idea what. I'm not reading your list. I hope.
I don't have a list.
Okay. Okay. So
you wanted me to do this exactly like we did the music.
right. Okay. So there. Okay. So we've discussed that. So what's next? What you got next?
It would be the worst male actor.
Worst male actor.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Put that thinking cap on.
Yeah, I gotta think about that because it's like that the thing becomes like. Again, I don't. There aren't any movies I avoid. Like if I see somebody's name on the marquee, I'm like, oh, I cannot watch this. This person's horrible. But yet.
Well, Tom Cruise used to be that guy for me.
Right, I understand that, but like I'm just trying to think of like who could I honestly say that about, and I can't think of anybody off the top of my head that I would be like, oh yeah, no, not gonna watch that. That person's awful.
Yeah, I can't say that for male actors too, though there are a few people that if it wasn't something that was really interesting me that I saw them on the list, I'd be like, yeah, I don't think I want to watch this thing.
I think it's tough because like the closest I could say I could come to something like that would probably be, and you're gonna hate me for saying this, would probably be Vin Diesel.
Why would I hate you for that?
Like outside,
he's a terrible actor.
He is. He's horrible. Like outside of like him playing, Riddick or Dom Toretto. Like I would never watch a Vin Diesel movie outside of those two franchises.
That's not true. You watched it. We went to see The Pacifier together.
Yeah, actually, that movie wasn't that bad, but it wasn't because of him.
You're right. It wasn't because of him. But that's why they give him as least little speaking parts as they can because he's not that great of an actor. But
right.
God damn, he's a good actor to watch.
Right. But like, I can honestly say Vin Diesel was in the worst movie I have ever seen.
Which one was that?
Babylon AD.
Okay, I agree.
You know what I mean? Like that movie was fucking horrible.
It was horrible.
The one where he played, he was he was playing his own, like I can't remember what the movie was, but he had hair, and he was like playing like he was like in court, like being his own lawyer.
Oh my god, yeah, I have that on DVD. That was the very first. Not only was that the first movie he was in, he actually wrote and directed that movie.
That fucking movie's horrible.
Or did he direct it? I know he wrote it. I'm
Yeah.
not sure if he directed it.
Yeah, but like so like if it had like if and he is smartened up and he does nothing outside of like even like Triple X is bad. I'm sorry, like the first Triple X is bad.
Oh, they're terrible.
And the third Triple X was probably the second worst movie I've ever seen.
Third one, I thought they only made 2.
They made 3. The second one had Ice Cube in the middle.
Yeah. So you're talking about his second one, the third. Yeah.
Yeah.
The Return of Xander Cage.
Yeah, the Return of Xander Cage. That was fucking awful.
Oh, yeah. There was so much shit on there that I call bullshit. I wanted the Mythbusters to step in and prove this.
Like, and the fact that like you took me to that movie because you wanted to go see it. You're like, I'll pay for us to see this, and I was like, I hope she gets up and asks for her money back because this was fucking horrible.
It was awful. It was even more like terrible than the first one. And you were like, how much more bad can they get than the first one? Oh, they sunk the ship on that one. It was terrible.
It was.
I can't even believe we stayed to the end. I was like quarter of the way through. I'm like, we leaving? When them motorcycles turned into fucking jet skis, that's when I was like I'm done with this. I'm done.
Like, I was like, well, at least Donnie Yen can save this movie. And he couldn't. No. Like, there was no saving that turd. And, I mean, so, like, he's just, he's awful. Like, and, like, I can't, outside of, like, him, and, like, in all honesty, like, even him is, like, it's the thing with the Fast and the Furious movies, like, I'm so invested at this point because I've seen every single one of them for some ungodly reason.
Well, because of me. I keep buying them.
Yeah. Like, I've sat through them all, and they've become like those guilty pleasure movies.
I'm sorry. I got to interrupt you because I can name a good Vin Diesel movie outside of Xander Cage and Riddick.
Knockaround Guys?
I was gonna say The Boiler Room, but okay.
Yeah.
Knock Around Guys was good, but The Boiler Room was really good as well.
Yeah, but it's not because of him.
No, it's not because of him, but he didn't do a terrible job.
He wasn't terrible in that, no. But like, it's like, I watch him and it's like, and the worst part is there's some talent surrounding him in those, like, especially the Fast and the Furious
Oh,
movies.
hell yeah.
And it's like,
And you got to wonder if that's by design.
right.
Because the demise of Paul Walker, we need somebody else to...
Paul Walker wasn't that good of an actor. May he rest in peace. Wasn't that good of an actor.
Shut your mouth, please.
Sorry.
What, is that the only thing you ever saw Paul Walker in and that's how you're judging him?
No, I've seen him in other things.
What?
There was one where he went back in time.
You never saw Varsity Blues.
Yeah, I saw Varsity Blues.
It's fantastic in that.
It was
Whatever. But I'm just saying, I think once he went away, I hate saying that,
Yeah.
rest in peace, Paul Walker, because he was a good human being. Okay, that's why I adored him. So they had to fill in, well, who can we surround around Vin so he can stand up to? So what do you pull in? Fucking Jason Statham, The Rock, and everybody else.
Yeah.
Charlize Theron. So you have a whole new fucking cast.
Right.
Vin Diesel isn't even relevant at this time. But they keep shoving the family down your throat. You know? So it's like ridiculous now. But like you, I'm invested.
Right. It's all about family.
But that goes on to your next one. So would that be that Babylon AD and that be your worst movie?
I can always say the worst movie I ever paid money to see in a theater was Babylon AD. Mm-hmm. Okay, but the worst movie it's tough because they're very close together. The worst movie it was oh god, what was it called? It was a dungeon siege tale. Oh, I gotta look it up real quick. I can't think of the name of it, and it hurts me. But it's got...
It's hurting me, too.
Well, it's got Jason Statham in it. It's got Burt Reynolds in it.
Oh, God.
Yeah, and the best part is Burt Reynolds plays the king. It's a medieval movie.
Oh, my God.
And Burt Reynolds plays the king, and fucking... the guy from Goodfellas plays the evil wizard.
Which guy from Goodfellas?
The main guy. The
Oh, shit.
the guy who was the main character.
Joe Pesci?
No. Give me a second. Here, in the name of the king, a dragon siege tale. And it's got, listen to this cast. Ray Liotta's the guy I'm thinking of.
Oh, I fucking love him.
Ray Liotta's the villain.
He played such a good one.
It's got Jason Statham as Farmer.
Farmer?
Well, that's his name, Farmer.
Gotcha.
Laylee Subisky.
I like her.
Yeah, she's in this.
Oh.
Ron Perlman. Claire Filoni.
Okay.
Kristen Loken. Matthew Lillard.
Oh, I know him.
Burt Reynolds. And John Rhys Davies. He played the dwarf in the Lord of the Rings movies.
Oh.
Like, brilliant Shakespearean actor.
That's just ridiculous.
Like, this amazing cast, and it's a movie written and directed by Uwe Boll, who is, I'm jumping ahead, probably one of the worst directors.
Yeah, don't jump ahead.
I'm sorry. But, like, this movie is so fucking awful. I mean, I'm just picturing the pitch meeting where, like, well, we know you want to do this movie, and, for some ungodly reason, Uwe, John Rhys Davies is willing to do it with you. So we've got the king. He's like, no. I don't want John Rhys Davies to play the king. He can play the king's assistant. Okay?
Oh, wow.
Who are you going to cast as the king? Bring me the bandit.
Oh,
bring me Burt Reynolds as the king.
Oh,
Like,
God.
really?
Really?
Burt Reynolds? Are you sure? As the king?
I would be questioning that as well.
Yeah. No. I want the bandit. Bring me the, and who's the villain? Ray Liotta will work. We can get him cheap, right? What? Ray Liotta?
But yet you sat and watched this movie.
I did. Because look, I looked at the cast and I'm like, oh, this can't miss. I don't care who wrote and directed. This can't, and it's fucking awful.
Yeah.
Horrible. I should have known better, but it was like that thing of like, wow, this cast is amazing. I'm gonna give it a try.
Yeah.
And it's like 2.5 hours later. It was like he wanted so desperately to make his Lord of the Rings movie,
right.
and it is fucking awful.
That does sound awful.
Yeah. So that is. Those are the 2 worst movies I have ever seen.
Well, I agree with the Babylon AD.
Yeah.
But I have to stick that piece of trash in there, that Nicolas Cage next movie in there. I could probably watch that again and still have no fucking clue what the hell I'm watching.
That is not the worst Nicolas Cage movie ever
I'm
made.
not saying it's the worst Nicolas Cage movie. I'm saying that's one of my worst movies on my list because I don't fucking get it.
Okay.
I have watched that thing 3 or 4 times and I have no fucking idea what I'm watching.
I understand. But, I mean, Bangkok Dangerous is 1,000 times
But
worse.
I understood what that movie was about at least.
Oh, I'm glad you did.
If I can't understand the movie, I don't
Right.
understand.
Okay.
And Babylon AD and Next was like, what am I watching? I
Right.
don't know. It was kind of like when you took me to go see Serenity. I was like, what the fuck am I watching?
Right, but after you saw Firefly, it all made sense.
Don't say that.
Well, okay, it was...
Who the fuck is this?
I don't know.
I keep blocking them and they keep getting through.
So, I mean, to explain it to everybody, this is when we had just started dating, and I really wanted to see Serenity. Really, really badly. And so I convinced, like, I wasn't even like, hey, we're going to go see a movie. What are we going to go see? Serenity. Isn't that based off of a TV show? Do I need to understand that? No, it'll be fine. I got her...
I didn't know it was based off a TV show. I never asked you that.
You did. You did
No, I
ask me that.
didn't.
Yes. So to make sure I was in the clear, I got like really good, like the comfortable seats, like that you pay extra for, that had like a waitress come to wait on you and everything. And
Yeah, you buttered me up.
and the movie takes, we're watching the movie, and spoiler alert for those who haven't seen it yet for some ungodly reason.
Don't bother if you haven't. It doesn't matter.
When Wash dies, I'm like in tears. And then when
You were sobbing like a little 2-year-old.
and then when River Tam is like, it's my turn to protect you now, and she goes through to take on the Reavers and close the door. I'm like, he's gonna do it. He's gonna kill them all. Oh my god! I mean, I was just sobbing like a little girl. Like it was the like, and you're like sitting next to me, like, what the fuck is wrong with him?
Yeah, because I was questioning why the fuck I was there.
Yeah,
And why the fuck I was there with you, sobbing like a kid.
Oh, I've never been so emotional in a movie in my life.
Yeah, that's not true. We'll get to that later, but go ahead.
Okay.
There's several more that you've been emotional at, but we'll get to that.
Not that emotional.
We'll get to that.
Okay. Okay.
All right. So yeah, but I mean, I don't suggest taking somebody that you're trying to date for the first time to a movie that they have no fucking clue what they're watching.
Yeah.
Because I think that was the beginning of your demise. But I mean, it did make sense after I watched Firefly, and thank God there was only one season I had to go through. But I was like, why would you do that to me? But I wouldn't say that's a bad movie.
No.
I did redeem you redeemed yourself for that movie, if you remember.
Yeah, I took you to go see Everest.
Yes.
In IMAX.
Yes. In the comfy seats.
Yes.
That was my Serenity moment.
Yeah. And even then, I was like, oh, look, it's Creeper, Jake Gyllenhaal.
Oh, my God.
He's even creepy in this movie.
Would you shut the fuck up? All right, moving on.
Moving on.
So, knowing what your... Wait, did we say the worst... Was that the worst movies?
Yeah.
What did we say? Well, you didn't say your best movie. Quickly, say your best movie.
Well, I mean, like, if you're talking, like, all-time favorite movie...
Whatever.
I mean, everybody knows. I mean, that's Blade Runner.
And everybody knows mine's The Watchmen, so we don't
Right.
have to really talk about that.
Right.
But there's more to the thing, like what we were doing the other night with the music. I was breaking it down.
Right.
So, like, what would you say, like, what your favorite movie quote of all time would be?
It's very weirdly, it's like when you talk quote, are you talking like a single sentence, or
Well, if I'm talking about a movie quote that if somebody heard that, they'd be like, I know the movie that's from.
okay,
Not something that's just rattling around in your head.
like a monologue.
Yeah, like roads where we don't,
Yeah.
where we're going, we don't need roads. You know, that kind of quote. Or it could be a tagline if it was the movie and then a tagline.
It's probably you either die the hero or live long enough to see yourself become the villain.
I thought you'd say something along that line.
Yeah.
So, yeah. You talked about your best movie and your worst movie. What would be your favorite TV show, like the best TV show that you think could stand time, no matter what decade it was in?
The reboot of Battlestar Galactica.
Is that the one with the guy from Miami Vice?
Yeah.
Because Miami Vice would be mine.
Yeah.
And what do you think is the worst TV show that they had?
I think anything involving the Kardashians
Okay.
or housewives of
That's
any type.
reality TV. So
Right.
if you're talking reality TV,
If you're talking scripted,
yes.
Cop Rock.
I don't know what that is.
It was like a very short-lived ABC show where like they were taking it was like a cop show, but it was a musical.
That's awful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it didn't even last a season. I think it lasted like 3 or 4 episodes.
Oh,
But yeah, it's like
that's terrible.
yeah. I mean, it's it's just horrible.
Well, tell me, what is a TV show from your childhood that you wish they would either be running or rebooting that would still like be able to like you could incorporate something from the 80s to this day? It could be drama, comedy, whatever, cartoon, it doesn't matter.
Airwolf.
I don't think it could.
I mean, obviously it has to be tweaked. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, you know, Otter right now is shaking his fist at me because he has this conversation with me all the time. Like, you just can't do it. Modern tracking would find a fucking helicopter. I'm like, I get it. So you'd have to tweak it. You couldn't just hide it in a
Right,
in
yeah.
in like, you know, a
Yeah,
crater somewhere.
right.
Like you'd have
Well, it wasn't a crater, it was a
mountain or whatever it was.
there was a word for it, and I'll figure it out.
A mesa.
I can't remember.
Yeah, but I mean, like, I get that, like, but I think, and this is the thing I've always said. I always thought the character of Stringfellow Hawk was ahead of his time.
I think so too.
You know, I think, you know, if you take the character, if you took some of the like Archangel, like there were pieces in place where like you could take that and you could modernize it and make it work.
Right, even the brother Sinjin, his storyline,
Right.
just remove it from Vietnam and put it in one
Right.
of the Iraq things,
Right.
or whatever is over there.
Right, but I you know, and yes, I get like, you know, a super helicopter, like the basic concept of the show works if you tweak it. Like, I don't think Airwolf has to be a souped up helicopter. You can make it something else. You can, with modern technology, you could create a vehicle that is believable as being like something that would be available, but also feel futuristic or something. Like, so you can like tweak the concept. It doesn't have to be a souped up helicopter, but the concept itself of like, this guy has decided to take this piece of equipment and hold it hostage and use it, you know, like, yeah, that concept works to me. Like,
But he also had the in with the government with Archangel, where
Right.
he would be all right, well, if you do this for us, we'll find your brother for you.
Right.
And then you'll give the helicopter back.
Right.
But the problem is they never fucking found his brother.
Right.
He did at one point.
Right.
But still didn't give the helicopter back.
Right. So I mean, like the to me, like the concept of the show works. It does it. Would it need to be tweaked?
But it didn't come. It stopped being about his brother and the reason why he wouldn't give the helicopter back, because he didn't like what they wanted to use it for.
Right.
That's why he kept holding on to it even long after the brother storyline stopped.
Right. But like I said, I think the concept of the show works.
But the helicopter doesn't.
That's why I'm saying.
There's no such fucking thing.
Right. That's why I'm saying you tweak it, you create something, and you create something on your own. Like, here's a super vehicle. Like, you don't need a helicopter that looks badass. Like, you can create something with CGI, and at this point, CGI is cheap enough that you can make it work for a TV show.
I don't know.
Like
Let me just be a little far, because I mean, even after I watched it after all those years, I finally got to see it again after 3 episodes, and I'm like, what the fuck was I ever invested in this shit as a kid? I couldn't wait to see it as a kid. I'm like, this is just the corniest shit ever.
Well, it's the same problem I have like with shows like The Incredible Hulk. Okay, like we romanticize The Incredible Hulk, but like all it was every week David Banner wanders to random town where there was an evil mayor or somebody who ran the town, and you didn't, it wasn't a comic book show. It was just this guy who turned into the Hulk, and he was at the end of the day, and that was that, and then the military would show up, and he was already hitchhiking down the road. There was no comic book aspect to it. There was nothing comic booky about it except for the fact that you had Lou Ferrigno painted green. That was it. You know what I mean? Like, today, if you were to do that show, it would be on Disney Plus, and the Hulk would, he'd be fighting the villains of that Hulk, his rogues gallery every week.
So you're just saying it was like the same storyline but tweaked every week.
Right.
That's not the problem I have with it.
But it's the problem with the problem with Airwolf is the concept of it was cheesy, because by the end of it you knew it was like, okay, well, they've here comes all this shit goes down, and then here comes the helicopter. They come with the helicopter, blow some shit up, and the day's been saved.
That didn't happen all the time, but yes.
But that was the basic concept of it,
yeah.
And
then he would be up in his cabin playing his violin.
cello.
Cello with his dog.
Yeah.
That who the hell fucking took care of that dog when he wasn't up there? I'd love to know that.
Yes, like it was like the basic concept was like, again, we have this town that's being run by, or this country that's being run, they would.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
It wasn't.
I agree.
Right, like the concept stunk from that standpoint, but the basic concept of of String, his brother, Dom, Archangel,
the chick that came along, I can't remember her name.
No, but the company that Archangel, all that stuff with the super vehicle of some type does work.
Right.
Like, you create some sort of flying super vehicle.
Right.
That in CGI, and you up the ante now.
Okay, I'll agree with you on that.
You know what I mean? Like all these pieces are in place that you could make this show work, and but it needs to be tweaked for something more modern. I understand that aspect of it. You can't just pick a cool helicopter again. Right. But the basic concept is there, and I thought always thought it was ahead of its time. But because it was the 80s, they couldn't just do like a single season arc like that. You know what I mean? Where now you could do 10 episodes of a single season arc involving a super vehicle.
Well, you keep saying super vehicle. I mean, we had that in Knight Rider.
Right. But again, like...
Okay.
But like, but when I'm saying super vehicle, I'm talking something that flies. Hence the Airwolf.
Okay, like, gotcha.
I'm not talking
Okay, but the problem that I thought was, and I'm not trying to, because we got a lot to cover, because I got a lot of questions. The thing I think Airwolf suffered for me was the same thing Miami Vice suffered with me. And I love Miami Vice. That's like one of my favorite shows. But how much of the stuff they showed us we didn't need to see. So they really need to update that.
Right, because it's like...
I don't need to see every helmet being closed. I don't need to see them gripping the handle to push a button to make this work. And I don't need to see them walking to this. I don't need to see them driving to that. They need to...
But that was an 80s editing problem.
That's what I'm saying.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. Today, that would not be in it. So, yes, I'm agreeing with you. It would work if they got rid of all that.
That's just like... I mean, here's the prime example, okay? When you would watch the original Battlestar Galactica from 1978, you would always have that moment where they're putting on the helmets, they're getting in the cockpit, they hit the thrust button, and they get launched out the tube, and it was like, that's so fucking cool. I mean, it was the same fucking re-edited shit every single week.
Right.
And you didn't need that. And so when you got to the reboot, guess what you didn't have every single week?
That stuff. Right.
That didn't happen.
So it worked.
And so the few times that you did, like in one episode, the Galactica jumps into atmosphere. It's at this planet. And so now the Galactica's falling like a brick because she's technically not supposed to be able to maneuver in atmosphere. She's a spaceship.
Right.
So she's falling like a brick.
Yikes.
And we all know that creates friction, and there's no heat shield or anything. And so there's like flames like coming up from the bottom of the ship. And the pilot goes, well, this is going to be interesting. And he hits the thrust button, and it shows it going through the tube and like out through the flames.
Oh,
so it's like this badass moment of like the Vipers are launching as like the bottom of the ship is like got these flames from the friction coming up, and it's like a really cool moment. And then it jumps away.
But that's like a one-in moment. It's not every single week.
Right, exactly. But that's the point. Like, so they didn't have those Vipers launching through the tubes every single week, but when they did it, it had a purpose.
Right, and it was exciting to watch.
Right.
Yeah.
So yes, like you're right. Like I don't need to see String dropping his visor and Dom clicking a switches and stuff every single week.
I don't need to see the things being lowered from the guns being lowered. I don't need to see all that.
Right.
I don't mind seeing it every now and then. It's just that was what suffered with Airwolf, and Miami Vice had the same problem. How many fucking times did we see that fucking montage of them just driving down the road to get to where they needed to be?
Set to a really cool song.
Okay, I'll give you the music, and that's where I learned a lot of good music. I can't even say none of that, but it was the same palm trees, the same buildings, the same reflection in the wheel thing. I just was like, come on, can you do something else here? It wasn't not that it wasn't cool. It's just I didn't want to see it every fucking week.
It's Crockett and Tubbs sitting there driving down the road.
And Tubbs was always fucking with his goddamn gun.
Yeah.
And Crockett was always on the fucking phone to his ex-wife.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? One time he pulled over and used the phone booth, I think. Because he didn't want Tubbs to hear the conversation.
Yeah. So, I mean, like,
Come on. But yes, you had a really cool U2 or Phil Collins or whatever in the background.
Yeah.
And you were like, fuck, this is great. But, like, after the fourth season, you're like, again?
Yeah.
I got to see this again? Because there's so much more you could be showing me.
But that's the problem with, like, Michael Mann. Like, I love Michael Mann as a director. But, like, he's very visual. And that was something that, like, he felt was needed. And
well, we can also say that about if we go into directors. We can also say that about, oh, God, what is his name? Woo. Is it Woo? The guy that did Face Off.
Oh, yeah, John Woo.
And with the fucking, when Nicolas Cage steps out with the fucking coat and he goes,
oh, yeah.
There. And then when the doves were released. Absolutely, he's the same fucking way. That's a movie, so it works. But could you imagine watching a TV show he's done every single week, seeing that shit? You would be like, dude, come on.
But John Woo does it every single movie.
But that's... But I love it every week.
I love it in every single movie, though.
Yeah, he's like really good at that. The one I liked was the fucking boat that was like sailing through the air at one point, and you were like, "What the fuck?"
I mean, he found a way to make that shit work in Broken Arrow.
Oh yeah, Broken Arrow was a really good movie.
That's a John Woo movie.
Yeah.
And like, if you remember, there's like one moment where like the doves are flying away from
Yeah.
John Travolta on the train.
Yeah, on the train.
Like,
on the train.
Where the fuck did the doves come from?
Right. Where the fuck did he keep them under there all that long?
Yeah, I have no idea.
He's been jumping around like a crazy person.
I mean, it was shit like that. Like, I mean, he directed Mission Impossible 2. Like, Mission Impossible 2, like I've said it before, it's probably the worst of the Mission Impossible movies, but it just reeks of John Woo the entire time.
Yeah, I'd
like,
have to go back. I can't remember.
Yeah.
But before you go on, that's one of my questions. Your directors, like, who would you say is an overrated director?
Overrated?
Yes.
Oh, wow. You know, I hate to say this because I like him. I think J.J. Abrams.
What?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Not my JJ.
Yeah, I know. I like him. I like
Not
him a
my
lot.
J.J. Abrams.
I like him a lot, but like
Oh, that saddens me.
it saddens me too because I like him, but at the same time, I feel like his visual style with like always having to have like fucking lens flare, like his two Star Trek movies. As much as I like those two Star Trek movies, like it took me to the third movie to figure out what the Enterprise bridge looked like because I couldn't see it clearly because there was so much fucking lens flare on that fucking bridge.
Right.
When the third movie, which he didn't direct, they didn't have any lens flare. So I'm like, oh, that's how the bridge is laid out.
Wait, who was the one that directed the first Venom movie?
Oh, I don't know what his name was. I can't remember.
That was awful, whatever it was, because you couldn't see half the shit that was going on between the fight at the end.
Right. That was,
Yeah.
that was one of my biggest complaints about that movie. It was like that
Yeah.
fight at the end. I was like, I have no clue what the fuck happened.
Well, if you don't say Kevin Smith, please don't. Just leave Kevin Smith out of this. Who is your favorite director of all time?
Ridley Scott.
I thought you were going to say Ridley Scott. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, before Kevin Smith, it's Ridley Scott.
Right. I had a feeling it was going to be Ridley Scott, but I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah.
And who's your least favorite? And don't say J.J. Abrams. I'm saying
Right.
he's overrated.
Right. I don't have a least favorite because like I can't think of some like I'm sure there's probably somebody who like they've made their hay directing like romantic comedies. You know, and
Who would that be?
I don't know. That's my problem. I don't know. But I feel like there's probably somebody out there who, like, that's where they made their money is, like, you know, I'm the guy who directs romantic comedies. I'm the go-to guy for Julia Roberts movies or some, you know, some
Well,
shit
that
like
would be
that.
hard to say. It's not like you're saying Harlequin romances here.
Right.
Yeah, but you could probably think of a few.
Like, I mean, but I don't know those directors' names is the problem because
Right.
I don't watch those types of those movies, so I'm not familiar with their work. So I'm sure there's somebody out there who I could probably be like, oh yeah, this guy's directed like this movie, this movie, and this movie, and I don't like those type of movies, so he stinks. I mean, you know, maybe.
You know what? While you're doing that, I need to look up this dude's name. 'Cause
Yeah.
I'm getting it mixed up in my head.
Like,
ahead.
Maybe like if you were to like put a gun to my head and say who's probably your least favorite director, I would probably say like, oh, I can't even think of his name now. Anderson, Wes Anderson, I think is his name. Yeah.
Doesn't he do horror?
No, that you're thinking of Wes Craven.
Oh.
Well, Wes Anderson does like, and they're like Ian's favorite movies. He loves Wes Anderson movies, but he did like The Life Aquatic and like he does like odd films that I just don't like.
Well, I like if you're talking about odd films, I like that oh my god. Darren Aronofsky.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he did. But I mean, I know he did Requiem for a Dream, but there was a few other ones that he did that I really liked.
Yeah.
And I mean, I like Christopher Nolan, except for that Memento. I have never not liked. What? What?
That's Stork's all-time favorite movie.
Oh, I just can't.
I mean, he worships the altar of Nolan, and like Memento is like the greatest movie ever made.
Oh, I'm so sorry. It just, I think it's because I never actually just sat down and watched that movie. I need to like really sit down and watch it. But I think Christopher Nolan movie, like I have never watched the Nolan movie that I didn't like. I have not watched his last one though. What was his
Tenet.
last one? Yeah, I have not seen that yet,
Yeah,
so I
neither
can't
have I.
comment on that. Yeah, but I mean, for the most part,
Yeah.
what has he done that wasn't that bad? You know.
No, I can't think of anything. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, it's like horrible.
But I also like
mean-
people that do other stuff, you know. But
Right.
if you want like big names that stand out, best or worst, I don't really have a. I don't have somebody that I'm like, oh, he directed. I don't want to see it. Maybe Kevin Smith because
Yeah.
I'm very standoffish with him right now.
All right, I just thought of a name for director I don't like.
Okay.
Uwe Boll. I do. I will never watch another Uwe Boll movie.
Refresh my memory.
He's the guy who did the Dungeon Siege movie I was talking about.
Okay.
Like, he is, like, I can honestly say I have watched a number of his movies, and they all suck.
Okay.
And so I will never be sucked into another, like, it could have Tom Cruise in it, and I will think twice about it. You know, it could Tom Cruise and Harrison Ford. I'm like, I don't know. It's directed by Uwe Boll.
Okay.
You know, so, like, I will never...
That will stop you from watching the movie,
Yeah,
possibly.
Right.
Okay.
Like, so I will never watch another Uwe Boll movie.
There could be a naked Kristen Dunst moment. He'd be
Yeah.
like, maybe not.
Yeah. There could be a naked Kat Denning, and I will be like, I don't know. I don't think it's worth
Shit,
it.
I would watch it for that.
Yeah.
That's Kat Denning.
Yeah, I'll just wait till that comes out on the internet. And get the freeze frame.
All right. Well, speaking of Christopher Nolan, and that because it'll lead me into another where I can ask, because he has done a franchise movie set thing. What do you think a movie franchise like that, where they have done multiple movies of the same subject, which one do you think is done the best? Because you got a lot out there that we watch. Because if you think about it, you got the Batman, you got the Bourne movies, you got the Fast and Furious, you have the one that what's her face is in with the zombies,
Yeah.
Resident Evil.
Yeah.
We watch a lot of movie franchises.
The problem is with most of those franchises,
Jurassic Park. Sorry, I just
a lot of times they don't have the same director, like through the entire franchise.
Well, you don't have to director. I'm just saying ones that you think have. It doesn't matter what the director is. I'm just saying Christopher Nolan has done that, so that leads me into the franchise. I'm saying which ones do you think were done the best throughout that franchise?
That's rough because I think the most consistent would have been Resident Evil because it just stayed batshit crazy the entire time. Like, I like those movies,
I wouldn't
and
say
I mean
that about
they were all directed by the same guy, Paul W. Anderson, and like they stayed true to like their mission statement the entire way through. Like I can't. So like, and they stayed consistent.
right.
You know what I mean? Like we're like even like I have to like the Star Wars franchise. I can't even say that. Like Episode 1 is horrible. Episode 9 is bad. You know, there's some bad in the middle of all that. Like you know, like so like Star Wars. I can't say that. Star Trek. There are bad Star Trek movies. Star Trek 1's bad. You know, Star Trek 5, awful. You know, and you know, so like there's no franchise where I can honestly say like even like the Batman franchise. Like I love the Dark Knight trilogy. Like, but if you look, that's just taking a portion of that franchise. Like if you on like the movie that shall not be named, you know, which the one with Schwarzenegger, just so you know, like that's fucking awful. Like, you know, the Batman Forever. I mean, Val Kilmer is awesome, but like I hate Tommy Lee Jones's Two-Face. I know you love Tommy Lee Jones's Two-Face, but like I've always said that's not Two-Face. What Aaron Eckhart did, that's Two-Face. You know what I mean? Like so there's a lot of like, there's no single franchise that I can honestly say like, man, like every single movie in that franchise is fantastic.
What about ones that only had 3 movies to it? Well, actually, no. I apologize. It would be 4 by now. Nope, there's 4 in that one. Never mind.
Okay.
I was thinking the Bourne movies, like the first 3 were really great, but then I thought there's that 4th one.
Yeah.
So I can't even say the Bourne movies. Because you know, I fucking love them movies.
I mean,
maybe
maybe that just came to mind. And again, I can hear Stork probably shouting at his...
Ow! Derby!
The only 2 I can honestly say, like, probably the Indiana Jones, like even Kingdom of the Crystal Skulls. As bad as it is, there are a lot of really good moments that like make me remember why I love Indiana Jones.
I just can't stomach the second one.
Oh, I love the second one.
Oh, that bitch screaming through the whole thing. I couldn't take it.
But the other one that I would kind of like throw in there, because it stood the test of time for 60 years, is Bond.
Okay.
Like, good or bad. And there's some bad. I mean, you know, there are some bad. There's plenty of bad, but there's like a lot of good.
Right.
Including like 5 movies with Daniel Craig. Like, I love all 5 of those movies.
I know.
So, like, the Bond franchise as a whole, I think is
all right, well, let's think of a different genre. What about horror? Do you think there's a horror franchise that stood up through that? Like, where across the board they're good?
No.
And I'm not talking about just the horror ones we grew up with. I'm talking about now, too.
Well, like, no. Okay, like, you look at, like long-standing horror franchises. Okay, Halloween. Halloween 1's fantastic. Halloween 2's really, really good. Halloween 3, Season of the Witch, isn't really a Halloween movie as we know it. You know, 4's okay. Like, I mean, you know, there are some bad Halloween movies in there. And then you throw in, like, the Rob Zombie movies. Like, the first one I'm okay with. The second one's fucking awful. Like, you know, and then you have the soft reboot that they're doing with Halloween Ends coming up here in a couple of weeks. Like, those are good, but I mean, if you're looking at that overall franchise, like, there are some clunkers in there. Like, Friday the 13th, I mean, there are some there's shit in that franchise. Like, Jason X is one of the worst movies I have ever seen. Like, you know, that's just fucking awful. Even the Nightmare on Elm Street movies, like,
Yay, be careful what you talk about Freddy now.
I will. I'm not, because like there are some bad movies in there.
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying I think he's the better of them all.
And I mean, in all honesty, like, I mean, like when we've discussed this on the show, the problem became like, you don't root for Michael Myers, you don't really root for Jason, but people were rooting for Freddy. Freddy became, like, he was on cereal boxes. He had his own TV show. He had a cartoon. You know, he had action.
He had merchandise.
You know, he had a doll. Like, you know, you pull a string. You know, he had out of all of them, like, that was the one that it was like you ended up going more for Freddy than you did for anything. And so it's like that thing of like, no, like there's no real horror franchise I can point to, a long-standing horror franchise, and say, yeah, that everything that's in that franchise is gold, or like, you know, because there's a lot. I mean, they stand the test. I mean, clearly Halloween has stood the test of time because, like, you know, of what they're doing right now, and it's really, really good.
I firmly believe it's all because of Jamie Lee Curtis coming back too.
Right. I mean,
Laurie being back in the picture.
Right.
You're just blowing that shit out of the water.
Right. And I mean, that has a lot to do with it. But at the same time, like I don't see anybody rushing out to reboot Friday the 13th again.
No, I think they did just a fine job with what they did.
Right.
But
like,
go ahead.
I mean, like, and I love the reboot of Nightmare on Elm Street. Like, when they did that
with Jackie
Earle Haley.
Yes.
And like, I know I'm in the minority, but like, to me that was a far more interesting version of Freddy than what you were getting in the last few movies.
Right.
Like, you know, and again, like the whole thing was like this. Remember, he's a fucking child molester. Why are we rooting for this guy? Just because he says quippy things before he kills you? Guess what? So does Schwarzenegger in every fucking movie.
So does Bruce Willis.
Yeah, I mean, so it's like a thing of like.
All right. Well, wait. Okay, so to not go deeper into that. So, along the lines of villains, what do you think is your worst villain then? In horror, I'm talking in horror. I'm sorry, I should have said that. In horror movies, because that's what we're talking about. Them all.
Is like as awful, or are you talking like the best?
Let's go. What you think is the best character that they put out there as a villain in any of those horror movies?
Well, I mean, I guess you could say humanity in like the Hostel movies. You know, I mean,
have you ever watched the Hostel movie?
Yeah, I mean, it's
that's
human,
some disturbing fucking shit, man.
But that's why it is, because it's like it's humans being awful to humans.
You're right, and
you know,
so is Saw.
Yeah,
he's playing a fucking mind game with you.
But that's almost a serial killer-esque type of deal.
Exactly. I'm talking about these slasher movies. Like, if you would pick, like, okay, so let's break it down.
I think Chucky. If you want to do that, then Chucky.
See, Chucky would have been on my list as ones you could pick from because that motherfucker's crazy. But I think Freddy Krueger is the fucking worst of them all. I really do, because he can fucking kill you alive or wake or asleep. He's just a fucked up human being.
Well, no, you're.
He liked to fuck with you before he killed you. If we're not talking about human on human.
No, okay, you're twisting what I'm trying to define this as. You're saying who's the worst villain. So by worst, you mean the best.
Yes.
Okay, well,
and
now,
I'm saying Freddy Krueger was the best.
Then I would go with Michael Myers.
You just said Chucky.
No, because I thought you were talking.
First would be Chucky, and the best would be Michael Myers.
Right.
Okay.
Like I think the concept of the shape.
Right.
Like the whole that whole deal, when done right, is scary. Like.
Oh, it is.
Like I loved. There was a moment I loved in spoiler in Obi-Wan Kenobi, where I think it was like the third episode, and Vader shows up, and he's stalking Kenobi, and he's stalking him. It's very Jason-esque, you know, or not Jason, Michael Myers-esque.
Yeah.
Like, you know, Kenobi like turns around, and there he is. You know, it's like, oh shit, where did you come from? And Kenobi runs and hides, and fuck, there he is again. Like, you know, and Vader's just walking.
Yeah.
He's just stalking his prey the entire time. There's no hurry. There's no rush to him.
And that's Michael Myers.
Yeah, and that's Michael Myers. You know, like, so like I could appreciate that.
Well, I mean, if you watch the last movie, if you remember, the lights went out. He wasn't there. The lights came on.
Yeah.
He wasn't there. Like, that's, yeah.
Yeah. So, like, I mean, to me, like, the and I get what you're saying about Freddy, like, you know, but, like...
But, see, Freddy was doing that shit before the new shit came out.
Right.
You know, the what is that? The Green Inferno and Hostel and Saw. Freddy Krueger was doing that before any of that shit came out.
Dream World and like, that's... You're, like... And I mean, and I think that's what makes, like, the very first Nightmare on Elm Street one of the best horror movies of all time. You know, because, like, you're like, oh, shit, you are not safe anywhere. You know.
He sets his eyes on you, you're gone.
Right.
Because everybody has to sleep.
Right. And even if you close your eyes for a second, that's all he needs.
He's in there. That's all he needs.
You know, so, like, that was fascinating. You're right. I mean, I think, like, you know, the character just became so cartoony.
Oh, I agree with you.
You know,
after a while,
that it loses its like, it lost its appeal to me.
Right.
Whereas, like, Michael Myers, at least, like, while the movies were probably bad, the concept of Michael Myers has always been the same.
Right.
You know, so.
I have a couple quick questions for you, okay?
Okay.
What was your favorite book turned into a movie?
I would probably go with The Lord of the Rings.
Okay.
I thought Jackson did an amazing job with those three movies, and
all three of them.
All three of them, and I mean, like, the love and care that he took to, like, recreate that world. And like if you read those books, like minute details were like recreated.
Right.
You know, so it's like for the most part. So like I mean, like people complain about like the last movie like had 6 endings. Well, like the books had like 9.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I mean,
At least they cut that shit down.
right. At least they didn't show us the Hobbits going back to the Shire and having to retake it from the Nazgul.
Right.
You know, there was a whole like there was shit that took place in those books that like Jackson cut out. But like I think that and the Harry Potter franchise I thought was really well done.
I thought that was what you would say.
Yeah, but those two were probably the two that like really well done as far as like taking like Potter cuts a ton of stuff out because it has to.
Yeah.
But yet there was what they decided to focus on, the story between Harry and Voldemort, and just focusing on that because it's the most important story that in the books. You know, it does a fantastic job of telling that story.
Yeah. I agree with you on that. Everybody knows The Watchmen is mine, but I mean, I also like some of the other odd ones like Misery.
Yeah.
When they actually did it to the book, I did like The Shining. Not saying anything bad about the Jack Nicholson one. I'm just saying the TV movie made more sense to the book.
Right.
And I was okay with that.
Right.
You know, stuff like that. What was your worst one? That you were like, why did they do this?
I can't think of the name of it, and it pains me. I've tried to block it on. Okay, it was a Dean Koontz book. It was called Strangers, and in the book, this adult male in his 30s finds a Labrador Retriever, and this Labrador Retriever is extraordinarily smart, like human level intelligence almost. And but on the other side of that, whatever lab the dog came from, there was his counterpart, which was like an abomination. But they had a connection, and so like the abomination was trying to hunt the dog. And it's a fantastic book. Okay. It's a really, really good book. And they made a movie out of it, and it stars Corey Haim.
Oh my God.
A young Corey Haim.
Right.
Like, and it's horrible. It's absolutely horrible. There's nothing. The only thing
Don't blame Corey Haim for that.
I'm not blaming Corey Haim for it. But the only thing that the book and the movie share in common is the dog and the abomination.
Okay.
That's it. And the rest of the story is nowhere near the same as the book. It's completely off the rails, and it's a shame because it's like you had this great book and you took the
you ruined it.
And you ruined it. Like it has nothing to do with the book whatsoever. So that's probably the one for me.
Would you know mine?
You're gonna say Ready Player One.
Actually, no, I'm not going to.
Oh, okay.
I didn't hate that movie. I just wish they would have stuck to the book a little bit more.
Right.
Because it doesn't make sense if you didn't read the book.
Right.
No, mine would be The Flowers in the Attic.
Oh, okay.
That would also be my worst TV book to TV also because they, did that Lifetime shit.
Right.
Just don't watch anything. If you ever come across a TV show or a movie that has VC Andrews attached to it, do yourself a favor. Do not watch it. Read it.
Right.
I'm telling you.
Right.
They destroyed her works by making that. And they did it more than just the Flowers in the Attic series.
Right.
And more than the Heaven series.
Right.
It's like, stop.
Yeah.
You are just destroying her.
Right.
Yeah, so I got to disagree with that. My other one would have been Harriet the Spy because you know how much I adore the Harriet the Spy's book when I was a child.
Right.
I didn't mind it. I just didn't think it was necessary to make.
Right.
Because it just...
Right.
It made it seem... I don't know. It just... and don't get me wrong because I like the actors that are in it.
Right.
But... And it was very true to the original book.
Right.
There was not, I think, one word that was different. It just didn't...
Was it Rosie O'Donnell?
Yeah, you had Rosie O'Donnell in that. She
right, but I mean, was she part of the reason it was ruined for you?
No,
okay.
she did not. No.
Okay.
I don't know. There's something about that movie that ruined the book. Didn't ruin the book for me, but ruined like see it in a movie form.
Right.
I don't know why.
Right.
And I think it was because of who they picked to play Harriet.
Right.
I like her. I think she's a great actor. I just didn't. It wasn't Harriet.
Right.
First of all, Harriet was short and had short hair and glasses.
Yeah.
She didn't even look like Harriet.
Yeah.
She didn't have her demeanor. She didn't seem like Harriet to me.
Right.
Like if I had to pick out child actors to play Harriet, she would not be on my list at all.
Right.
But I'm not saying she's bad. I'm just
Right.
saying I think that's what did it for me.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. But I'll tell you what, the one they chose to be like the evil little bitch that tortured her in school, they picked the perfect girl for that one.
Okay.
So that was that one. So the other thing curious would be, what do you think the greatest TV moment of all time would be?
To me, for my money, it's when the Galactica finds Earth.
Okay.
And spoilers, but
You keep saying that, but
right. But still, like, it's in the last episode of Battlestar Galactica, which I think is one of the best finales of all time. The humans are attacking the Cylons. It's like a last ditch. This is what we have to kill you for us to survive. And they're attacking the Cylons base, and they're winning, but they're all going to die. And shit's going to hell. And on the bridge of the Galactica, they're yelling, "Starbuck, just jump us, just jump us." And throughout the show, the song "All Along the Watchtower" became important, and it was like a song her father played, and she picked these musical notes, and she put numerical values to them, and she entered in the coordinates for a jump, like just a random jump, using those notes. Those are the numbers that she used to create the jump, and the ship jumps, and the Galactica has been beaten to hell, and when she appears, you can see her buckle. Mm-hmm. The ship literally buckles as her back is being broken. She's never going to jump again. And shit's falling off of her and down onto what you think is a planet below. And it's just the pieces of her are falling off. And they go to the bridge, and people are asking her, "Starbuck, where did you send us? Where did you send us?" And she's like, "I don't know." And as the camera goes back out in space, and again you see the Galactica just over like this cratered planet. But as the camera pans to behind her, because you're looking at her from above, the camera pans to behind her, and there's Earth. I'm getting teary just thinking about it, because it's like this moment of like, she did it.
Right.
She got them there.
Right, yeah.
It's a very...
It's okay, Sean.
I know, I'm sorry. But, like, I always say ships become characters. Like,
right.
The Enterprise is a character. The Millennium Falcon is a character. Yes. There are ships... The Serenity is a character. Mm-hmm. They've taken care of you. And, like, the Galactica, from the very first moment, she was set to be retired. She's supposed to be a museum. And instead, she's had to go on this 5-year journey, taking the last remnants of these colonies to try to find a mythical place.
Right.
And she does it.
You're right. It's okay.
I'm sorry. It's a very emotional scene to me. Like, it kills me, because it's like, that's her last act.
All right, we'll move on from that so you don't stop teary-eyed. I got just 2 more questions for you, because I know we're getting to the end.
Okay.
What would you think is the best documentary that they did for, like, something real that happened? That you actually watched.
I actually watched. Okay.
Yeah. Because you can't throw out Dahmer because you didn't watch it.
I didn't watch it, no. I don't know, because I'm like, I watch documentaries, but like I'm not like big on them.
I'm not big on them either, but there has been a few that has got me. Like, not recently, it was a couple months ago. I sat down and watched that documentary. Well, it took me a couple days to watch that. I Know My First Name is Steven. Yeah. Now, the reason I sat down and watched this is because my father made me sit down and watch that made-for-TV movie when that happened back in the 70s, 80s. And he was like, this is why you don't talk to strangers. This is why you don't take right. Don't ever get in a car. And he's like, you watch it. This actually happened to this little boy. Right. And for some reason, my whole entire life, I always thought about that. And the reason I really thought they did a good job on this documentary is because, spoiler, because him and his brother are no longer available. They had the actors that played them back then, Corey Nemec being one of them, actually sit there and read what their lines would have been for, you know what I mean? So it was really well done how they incorporated how they brought that to light back then into the documentary now. And it was also interesting because it was like, what does his brother have to do with all this? It brought to light about the family dynamic on the inside, what was going on with the other children, which is something you very rarely hear about. Right. But the path his brother went on blew your mind because you didn't hear about that part. Right. You know what I mean? Like, so I think they did a really good job incorporating the whole, you know what I mean, into it. And then showing, because they showed bits of the movie back then, and then they showed, you know, the update. It was just really well done, I think. Right.
I would have to say, and this is going to be an odd answer, but it makes sense. A movie called Beyond the Mat. And it's a documentary about professional wrestling.
I think I remember you talking about this to me.
But it documents Jake the Snake Roberts, Terry Funk, and Mick Foley, who, you know, Mankind, Cactus Jack, Dude Love.
His resume.
His resume. But it does, like, it's like Terry Funk was the guy who like, you know, he was middle-aged and crazy, and like it's documenting like what was supposed to be his retirement, and of course he didn't retire. Like 6 months later, he was wrestling again. Jake Roberts, who like was like at that point was already like Jake Roberts is fucked up, like, and it was almost explaining like, because there's another documentary, and it's a very good documentary, but it's not my favorite, called The Resurrection of Jake Roberts. And it was done by Diamond Dallas Page. And part of it is just, it's a promotional tool for DDP Yoga, because that's one of the means he uses to get Jake on the path to a good life. But like, and Beyond the Mat, you're like seeing like, you know, Jake Roberts is like, you know, he's a coke addict, he's a drunk, and then you got Mick Foley on the other hand, who's like, at that point when that documentary was being made, he was at the height of his stardom. Right. And the match that gets highlighted at the end of the movie is the match between him and The Rock. It's an I Quit match. Okay. And it's the match where Foley had his hands handcuffed behind his back, and The Rock hits him with a steel chair in the head like 18 times.
I'm sorry, what question are you answering here?
Best documentary.
Gotcha.
Right. And like it's like one of the most notorious matches ever, because like it wasn't like Foley's like, it's supposed to get like 3 or 4 times, not 18. Dwayne went nuts.
Just a tad.
Just a tad. And like, you know, Mick's like the head is like just busted open, no like doubt, and you know, the guy who did the movie, he's like, you know, Mick called me that night and left me this message, and he doesn't remember anything, and like it was like a scary moment where like it was the first time you really kind of like thought about like brain damage, right? Like, and like I listened to Mick Foley today, and he credits a lot of things, but he's like, if I didn't do all the things I do, like, you know, he does a podcast now, he does a one-man show, he does all sorts of things. He's like, if I didn't do all this stuff where I had to use my brain, I would probably be a vegetable. Right. He's like, I am forcing myself to exercise my mind.
Right.
You know, so it's an interesting documentary showing 3 different wrestlers at 3 different points in their career, and like how messed up like pro wrestling kind of is. You know, it's a fucked up like profession you want to get into. You know.
Oh yeah, I mean, just by watching that little show they had on Netflix, just with the women alone, you know a little bit of that has to be like per what actually went on, yeah.
But like Jake Roberts at one point was like one of the biggest stars in professional wrestling.
Yeah.
Like when Jake Roberts cut a promo, you listened because he didn't yell, he didn't scream, he talked. He was just like, "Let me tell you what I'm going to do to you, Hulk."
Kind of like Moxley.
Yeah, I mean, he just talked. He was very calm. It was almost scary.
Yeah.
Like the way he just kind of like talked as he cut a promo.
Yeah, and then Hogan be like,
right. And so you had him and like how did the train derail?
Right.
And now you're seeing this guy in the midst of his train derailment, and it bookends nicely with the resurrection of Jake Roberts because wow, this guy's fucked up, and his dad fucked him up, and he's an addict and all this stuff, and here's Diamond Dallas Page like, I'm going to save you. You need to be saved, and he does, and that's a beautiful story. But like, so they bookend rather nicely.
That is really nice.
Yeah.
It sounds like a good documentary.
Yeah.
All right, how many more time do I have for one more question?
Yeah.
What is your all-time favorite theme song to any TV show?
Oh, wow. Huh. That's, I think like the first one that came to mind. Sorry. The first one that came to mind was Miami Vice.
Me too, but I have heard a few that I don't mind since then.
Yeah, like the Airwolf one. Like, I mean, because you automatically, like it just
not
clicks.
A song, though.
It's not, but I mean, neither is Miami Vice.
I was thinking Remy Zero with Smallville.
Yeah.
That's a really good song. I also, and I know it's just all instrumental, but I love the Game of Thrones opening.
Yeah.
Like, I just like the way they did that, not only with the audio, but with the visual.
Yeah.
I thought that was really good. And there was one other one that I was thinking of. And I can't remember. I as a child, I liked the Kids Incorporated one.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I'm trying to think. There was one more that I thought was a really good theme song. But yeah, Miami Vice is definitely up there on that. Yeah.
Like the theme music to the original Battlestar Galactica. I like that.
I don't remember that one.
I was like, dun, 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 dun. If I played it, you'd be like, oh yeah, I remember that.
But I didn't watch the original Battlestar Galactica. How would I remember that?
Because it's like one of those memorable things. Like you just, I don't know, if you hear it, you're like, oh, okay, yeah, I remember that.
I know what the song was I was thinking of. That show Bloodline on Netflix.
Yeah.
That has a really good song to it.
Here. Okay.
This year, Prime members get holiday deals.
I hate fucking YouTube.
That's funny.
Come on, finish up this damn ad.
Yeah, see, I could have been asking you another question.
Right,
You're
I'm
messing
sorry.
around with an ad.
Yeah. I love that.
Sounds like Star Trek.
No. How dare you?
You should have seen your face. You were like, no.
Like I hate I hate to say this, and I'm sure I'll get shit for it, but like I've never been a fan of, like the original Star Trek theme, like that, like from the OG series. Now the movies and the Next Generation, I love those. Mm-hmm. Like even like the one from like J.J. Abrams, like that, the theme music they use in that's phenomenal. Like, but like the
I don't-
original
the
series.
only
like,
thing I remember
that-
from J.J. Abrams is the Beastie Boys song. Come on. That was fucking fantastic.
Okay.
That was a great opening sequence.
Okay.
Come on, it was the Beastie Boys.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah, but
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not denying that. But there is some very cool orchestral music.
Well, there's good orchestral music in a lot of movies. I mean, like, well, not movies, but TV shows. You know, like I said, Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
But I know there's others out there that I'm like, I will record that and be like, that's a good song. Like Bloodline, I didn't even know
Yeah.
about that until I heard it, and I had a Soundhound that
Yeah.
because the other one, Shazam, wouldn't even pick it up.
Yeah.
Soundhound did.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, and then, you know, it went on my playlist. But like I told you, like the other day, I was listening to that one song, and I said it wasn't a theme song, but it was a song in the show
Yeah.
from Animal Kingdom.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just pick up on that shit.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
All right, then. Those are all your probing questions.
Well, not all, but for the amount of time we have here, because we didn't even touch upon the Disney Pixar shit or anything like that.
Yeah, okay. Well, remember, there are a number of different ways you can reach out and touch us. Oh, by the way, before I almost forgot.
Uh-oh.
Our good friend Thad,
Oh, gosh.
he did send in an email. It's time for America's favorite segment, Thad's 2022 Halloween review.
Oh, cool.
Yes. This week, Thad went to the best haunt in the Pittsburgh area, 100 Acres Manor.
Okay, I've heard of that.
Yeah, it's in South Park.
Yeah.
Ticket price was $28 standard, $40 for VIP, $65 for super VIP. With super VIP, you get to skip the front of the line like a regular VIP, but you also get a nice sweatshirt. We did one VIP and one super VIP. The sweatshirt is pretty nice. We were the first group in for the night, and I've never done that before. That was awesome. The haunt layout and details are always top-notch. The sound effects are also top-notch. Lots of actors around every corner waiting to mug you like you were walking through McKeesport. Wow. One could only imagine what that they have spent over the years on their 20-foot-tall animatronics. Extra details I like was the snow machine in the haunted forest. Even the abominable snowman makes an appearance.
Oh, cool.
So there you go. So that, and in all honesty, like 100 Acre Manor is always considered one of the, if in the Pittsburgh area, one of the top haunted houses to go to. So it doesn't surprise me because that always gives it a good review, and I'm not surprised that again this year it's.
Is that the first year they did the VIP and the exclusive VIP or whatever?
I think so, yeah.
So,
Because I know Thad spends the money for the VIP because he wants to skip the line.
God forbid you stand in line.
Right. Well, I mean.
But I get the wanting the sweatshirt.
Yeah.
If it's a sweatshirt,
Yeah.
nice one.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, because you know I would do it.
Right. So there you go.
Well, thanks for the update.
Thank you for that, Thad.
Always enjoyable.
Yes. Well, so remember there are a number of ways you can reach out and touch us. You can send us an email like Thad does each and every week. And the email address is pittsburghnerd@yahoo.com. You can also find us on Facebook and Twitter. Just search Pittsburgh Nerd Podcast. We're very, very easy to find. And lastly, we are a member of a number of podcasting networks. You can find us on the Tangent Bound Network, the Weeby Geeks Network, and the Pod Breed Network. Just give them a Google search and find all the other great podcasts they have to offer. And lastly, as always, want to thank you, dear listener, for checking us out each and every week. We can't thank you enough for doing that. And so on that note, the dreamer has awakened.
See ya.